Is your team helping or hurting your business? Are you helping your team help your business? Because as a leader in your business, unless you can answer a violent yes to that question, then you're not a real leader and you're not helping your business or your team. In this video, we look at two different perspectives. Firstly, we look at you as a leader and whether you're the real roadblock in your team delivering good service and performance. And secondly, we look at your team and we look at the things and components that you can do to help your team perform to their highest. The mirror question starts with you. As a leader in the business, are you doing everything possible to get the best out of your team and give your team the best opportunity to perform at their highest? And often we like to say, yes, of course we're making it easy for our team. Why aren't they doing what we said? Why aren't they just getting on and identifying risks and issues and trying to improve the business? But often when you really look behind the business owner and leader in the business, what you will find is that the business owner is putting blocks in the road and they're not proactively looking forward and looking for risks and threshold points that will impact the team's ability to actually get on and make things good. And so the first thing you need to do is do a health check on yourself as a leader and make sure that you are servicing your team to ensure that they can deliver to the business to the best of their ability. So there's a bunch of roadblocks that I see get in the road of teams delivering to their best. For instance, if you've set up roles and responsibilities and have got mixed levels of accountability where you'll give someone the accountability to deliver customer service or to run the sales effort for the team, and then suddenly behind their back, not in a malicious way, but you'll go to someone that competes with them that might be in operations and start asking them about sales opportunities and what they think. So immediately you've broken level of accountability between the two players and you've got two team members not understanding what their clear responsibilities are and they're starting to second guess their position. Equally, decision making. Have you got a delegated clear line of decision making within the business? Or do you let certain people within your team make decisions and then often override them because you don't quite agree? In other words, the margin on that contract that they've agreed to before the tender goes in is 25%, but you actually think it should have been 23.5%. If you keep overriding their decisions, having given them that delegation, they're going to start to sit back and wonder, well, I don't know whether I want to be wrong too many times here. Maybe I just send it up to the boss and let him decide what the margin is. Thinking about the more obvious roadblocks, sometimes a difficult supplier or a difficult customer can really weigh on the team and it can cause all sorts of issues and stress because there are mixed priorities. One is to keep the reputation and brand of the business intact, but the other is to deal with legitimate concerns of a stakeholder. As a leader, often you can play a role in greasing the wheels of some of those hard problems to allow your team member to then come in and actually deliver the goods and resolve any issues. Another roadblock is often the case, and that is where in the team there's a player that's not often prepared to play by the culture and what's expected of the business. Now, you're the custodian and champion of culture within the business. And say your culture's open, transparent, and, taking the initiative to identify risks and problems ahead of time. If you spot someone in the team that's not doing that regularly and keeping things to themselves and almost, in a funny sort of way, wanting people to fail through lack of information, then don't let that problem seethe and continue to grow. Call it out, raise it, address it with the individual and ensure that that behaviour doesn't happen. Because if you allow it to happen, because perhaps you don't want to deal with a conflict on one individual, or you're worried that the individual might leave because they get upset and that would drag customers away from you because the individual's been with you for a couple of decades, think again. Think again about the problem that individual's causing within your team and it's impacting others' ability to get on and deliver to the culture that you've signed up for. Let's move to the team now, but still with you in the picture. Now, Often you'll look at your spread of team members and they all have particular strengths and weaknesses, and hopefully those closely match their roles and accountabilities. But sometimes there'll be gaps where younger team members, for instance, will need to be developed over time to gain the experience and understanding, both technical and practical experience, to fully deliver to their accountabilities. So, to ensure the team is effective, you've got to make sure that there's a professional development program in place. And that's not just one training course. I've got a very dim view about training courses. Business owners look at them and they say, 1, we get a tax deduction for spending on training, and 2, it's like a silver bullet to a maximum effort team. We know that's not right. Training courses is a key to opening a door into a new room of development. But that journey through that new room needs nurturing before the training course, in the training course, and beyond the training course to truly develop the step change between habits now, performance now, versus performance in the future, and therefore impact on the business. There are certain things within your team that training, in my view, has no positive impact. The behaviours associated with individuals within your team showing a care factor to what they do and what they do in the business and the impacts that might ensue on the business. A person's either got it or it hasn't. I'll give you an example because I got a mate. He's in the US. He's in logistics and transport. They move all sorts of stuff from one side of the US to the other. He told me this story about this supervisor in his business. They were moving this large fridge from a residential property. So the supervisor went out and inspected the fridge. The fridge was on a pallet. It was a huge fridge and it had a strap, just one strap around it on the pallet. Do you think that that was secure or not? Well, anyhow, the moral of the story is that the fridge and the strap unravelled because when it got to its destination, the fridge wasn't in good order. And the reality is the one strap wasn't in line with company policy and it breached all sorts of insurance requirements as well. No training will sort that out. My friend in the US, who was managing that individual at the time, said, James, you just got to sit the guy down and say, look, that doesn't cut it. That behaviour is not what we expect here. And it's not what we expect here because it's not in line with company policy, and to go around it delivers all these risks. But also, Mr. Supervisor, you got a family, you got a job here, and we're helping you feed that family. And what you're doing by not having a care factor at the very outset of that fridge's journey is that you're not caring about the thing that matters, and that's feeding your family because you're putting your job at risk. So do you see that sometimes as a leader, as a manager, you've got to indicate what's right or wrong? Now, I asked my friend, did the supervisor ever step out of line again? And he said, not to my knowledge, James. He delivered to the values that the company wanted and he demonstrated care factor. So in thinking about whether your team is hurting or building your business, really what we're saying is there's a couple of key factors to consider. How effective are you as a leader? And are you true to yourself? Are you servicing your team sufficiently to remove the obstacles for them to get on and do what they do well and get satisfaction for building your business? And secondly, are you taking a close enough focus on your team and team members to ensure they've got the right training and professional development to do the roles that you're asking them to do, and that the behaviours and culture is in line with expectation to deliver a good outcome? If you've got those things in place, your team's going to be an A team from day one. But remember, you can't just do it on day one. This is a journey, and you've got to demonstrate resilience on managing your team, leading your team, and servicing your team 24/7. And if you do that, you'll find that it gets easier because suddenly the emphasis on ensuring that culture, behaviours, and performance is delivered will switch away from your shoulders and onto the team's shoulders, because suddenly the team will take accountability and responsibility and they'll see it as part of their reputation. Now, you're going to have to lead from behind still and guide and help them along the way and spot risks in advance, but suddenly your team becomes more powerful. And that's when you really know that you've got an A team. If you enjoyed this video and felt you got something out of it, please give it a like or a comment. And the next video coming up might be of interest. It's on the 2 profit lines within a business.